I'm 22 years old and just got the news that I'm dying. I failed at life and am now leaving behind a 3-year-old daughter. As the title says, last week I received the news from my doctor that I am dying from lung cancer. It turns out that smoking since I was 15 and then increasing it to 3 packs a day a few years ago was a bad idea. Stupid, I know. I thought it wouldn't come so soon. It's stage 4, and as of now, I have only months to live. Please don't feel bad for me. I've done nothing good in life except have my daughter to really warrant sadness about losing me. I have no family because I grew up in the foster system and aged out at 18. My daughter's father is in prison for serious crimes, and even if he were released, he wouldn't be allowed to be in her life. My daughter is only 3 years old. We don't live in a good area, and when I go to work, I have to leave her with an elderly neighbor who always gets her name wrong. I don't want her to grow up like I did in the foster care system. I feel like it's the reason why I messed up and did nothing good with my life. Yes, I know it's not the only reason. My own mistakes caused most of my issues. But if I had just some family or a support system to keep me in check, things could have been better. I want to give her a chance to have a better shot than I did. The thing is, I do have an idea for who could take care of her. One of my closest friends is a co-worker at my job, and she's amazing. While I'm at the bottom of the job hierarchy, if they need to lay off people, I would definitely be the first to go. She's their prized worker and makes serious money. She has a good husband and a child. I want to ask her if she would be willing to adopt my little girl once I'm gone. But I know it might not go well. The issue is that my coworker and her family are black, while my daughter and I are white. We both have blue eyes and can't tan. We are very fair-skinned. There is no way I can ask my friend to adopt my daughter and force her to deal with the challenges that an adoption like that would bring to her family. But then that just leaves my little girl to grow up like I did in a broken system with only a will of about $1,000 to help her and a necklace from my mother that I'm going to give her. I don't know if I should bite the bullet and ask my close friend if she is willing to take my daughter or just suck it up and try to work as hard as I can to put as much money into my will for my girl. Either way, I feel like I failed as a mother, and that is a regret I'm literally taking to my grave. Edit. Okay, I reached out to her and we were able to set up a place to meet. It's a simple, inexpensive bakery where you can eat inside. I'm going to ask her if she can adopt my daughter. That way, if she says no, I'll have more time to go to an adoption agency near us. Thank you for the support, everyone. Update. Alright, I'm back now. A day after my post, I was able to meet up with my friend / co-worker. After telling her about my diagnosis, something I haven't shared with anyone at work, I asked her if she was willing to adopt my little girl. She was shocked and tried to comfort me about my upcoming death. However, she couldn't give me her answer right then and there. It turns out she does want a daughter, but a complication during her second pregnancy caused some issues I don't feel comfortable sharing. She wants to consider adopting, but first needed to discuss it with her husband and plan if he agrees. I understood, given it was a significant change for their family. I said okay, and after we ate, she gave me a hug and told me she would miss me. Embarrassingly, I started crying. The emails gave me this idea, which I thought was amazing. So I created an email for my daughter and started pre-recording videos for various life events. It's nowhere near complete, but I already have some ideas and have recorded videos for her birthdays, first crushes, prom, and first job. Sadly, I realized while planning that most videos will be don't do what I did. My friend reached out to me a few days ago and said that after a long discussion with her husband, they are both considering it. Apparently, they have a process where after discussing a significant life change, they agree on something, wait a while, and if they're still on the same page, it sounds like a good idea. She emphasized that it wasn't a definitive yes, there are some issues they want to resolve first. She explained that while they both like the idea, they barely know my daughter. Her husband and 6-year-old son haven't even met her, and while she has heard about her, it's only through me. They developed a plan. For the rest of this month, I'll drop off my daughter at their house 2 hours earlier than normal, allowing her husband, who works from home, to watch her. I'll then go to work with my coworker. This way, her husband and son can get to know her. She also suggested we celebrate Christmas together, which is something to look forward to. I did this yesterday, and when I picked up my daughter, she was the happiest I've seen her in a long time. My friend's husband said they had a rocky start. She was initially scared and hesitant to play with their son. However, considering it was their first day, he believes she'll improve. We repeated the arrangement today, and he noted that she mostly watched their son play, which was already an improvement from yesterday. That's the current situation. I'm anxious this might lead to nothing, but at the very least, my daughter is now creating better memories than she had with me. Even if they ultimately say no, she's experiencing something more positive. Update 2, I'm back again. I apologize for being gone so long. A lot has happened and this will be my last post. So this is going to be long, sorry. First, I started feeling really sick days after Christmas. My whole chest was hurting like someone was hitting it with a hammer over and over, and I was coughing up blood. My best friend was terrified that I had caught something because the doctor said that getting sick right now could be deadly, so we had to go to the doctor. Thankfully, I hadn't caught anything. It was just the symptoms getting worse. Also, fortunately, at the time, I was still at work, so I didn't have to pay much for the bills. Yeah, that was another terrible thing that happened to me recently. After that trip to the hospital, my work called me in privately. Remember how I said that if something were to happen, I would be the first to go? Guess what? The bosses were telling me how they couldn't keep me there as I'm dying because it wouldn't feel right, and how it's apparent to them my illness was slowing me down and forcing my coworkers to work harder to make up for me wouldn't be fair and all that. I know I was just causing more problems for my coworkers since I got diagnosed, but I didn't think they would complain about me to my bosses. I'm so stupid for that. Of course I was being a burden. I was hoping to still be with them to the end of the month so I could pay my apartment rent, and I had barely enough money for bills, rent, groceries, public transport, and hospital bills. This is where my best friend slash former coworker comes in. After testing out caring for my little girl for a few weeks and spending a big holiday with them, she and her husband agreed to adopt her. She was telling me about some of her plans, and I told her it would probably be for the best that my daughter moves in with them. She asked me why, and I told her our work fired me and I wouldn't be able to care for both of us with so little money. She told me we both could move in with them. They have plenty of guest rooms I could pick from. I swear I tried to say no. Her family was already doing so much for us. I felt like this was too much. She told me I could be a huge help for them living there during my last months. Her husband could use the help looking after her as he works. I can help them decorate and fix up her new room, show them the foods my daughter likes to eat. So I promise I'm not going to be a bother to them, and we are hard at work getting the needed papers together for the adoption after I'm gone. Besides, me living there could help my little girl become more comfortable in her new home. And guess how rich her family is? They have a personal family lawyer. When I haven't been feeling sick, we've been working with him to make sure the adoption goes through. Okay, after all of that, I do want to share some other fun news. Christmas with them was probably the best Christmas my daughter and even I have ever had in our entire lives. My friend's family had like 5 Christmas trees in their entire house. Thanks to my friend, I was able to make a really special Christmas gift for my daughter, a Build-A-Bear. Well, it was really a bunny, but still. I made a voice recording telling her how much I love her and will always try to keep her safe. And my friend knows about the emails. I'm almost done with them actually, just a few more left. I gave her the password to both the email and this Reddit account, so once I pass, she could delete this one. Sorry, but I've been getting so many messages I don't want people to message me when I'm gone. And about the messages, I've received a lot since I updated. Apparently, my story was shared on TikTok, which is cool. It's strange to have so many people reaching out and wanting to talk. I have never experienced this in my life. It's funny how it happens once I'm dying. Many have said that if my friend had said no, they would love to adopt my little girl. Thank you, but thankfully my friend did say yes. If you still want to adopt, please reach out to a foster care system in your state. There are still children struggling in the system going through what I did. Give those kids the life I could never have. I've also had some people offer to pay me money to help. Please don't bother, sorry, but it feels weird accepting money. My whole life, I've worked for everything I've had, so it feels wrong to accept help from strangers just because I'm dying. I do want to address a few messages I've received about race. Most were about why I cared about my friend's family and the difference in race between me and my daughter. It wasn't a lot, but a few called me a racist for being concerned about that. I want to clarify that my nerves about this aren't because I think being white makes me and my daughter better than my friend. Far from it. I've seen a lot in the system and talked with other kids of different races. Those kids were often placed in care with people who were also of a different race from them. They would tell me about the problems they faced from their parents. Not that I'm scared my friend will do that, but also from the outside world. Being called names and insulted. One kid told me how she was screamed at by an older lady at a restaurant, and the parents tried to get involved, which led to a nasty fight. So yes, I was scared that her family and my daughter would face the same bigotry that the foster kids I knew experienced before. But I can't let my fears about some bigots ruin my daughter's chances. Anyway, this will probably be the last time I post here. I don't want to waste my last days. I've thought about taking up painting again actually. I used to paint when I was in high school before I dropped out, and once in the same school, we read a classic book about a world where books are banned. I don't remember much from the story, but I do recall a character saying at the end that you don't waste life when you create something to leave behind. That always stuck with me. I want to paint something. Maybe my friend could hang it up or keep it in their attic, but as long as I've left something behind, my life wasn't for nothing, right? I also need to help my friend's family and my daughter settle into their new lives. Thank you to everyone for your kindness, and goodbye. Final update. I've written and deleted this post so many times. She asked me to update for all of you when she passed, and yet I couldn't until now. For that, I'm sorry. We buried her 2 weeks ago. My coworkers, our family, and even some friends she managed to keep in touch with throughout her life showed up to her funeral. When she saw the prices of the casket and cemetery plot, she had a panic attack. So we told her we'd go with the cheapest options. We lied about that. She deserved a good funeral and a nice resting place. Her name was Michelle. She was placed in the foster care system when she was 3 after her mother died in a car accident. She never knew her father. When she was 16, the man who was supposed to be caring for her took her out of high school. She discovered she was pregnant by him when she was 18, and it was revealed he had horrific images and videos of children on his computer, resulting in his arrest. Ever since then, she had been working and doing her absolute best to make ends meet for herself and her daughter. She got a job at our workplace just a few weeks after turning 19. I only discovered a few months ago that she had actually lied to get the job. When I asked Michelle why she did that, she responded, "Why would it be a big deal? They taught me everything anyway." That was the Michelle I knew. It shocks me reading over the messages she left behind. How little she thought of herself. She was always so confident, at least how we all saw her. She walked with her head held high and with purpose. She never appeared out of control of a situation except for the past few months, and honestly, I believe she was allowed to have moments of panic and grief. Nothing got past her. She seemed to know everything happening around her at all times. It also seemed like Michelle wasn't afraid of anything. She even made friends with some homeless people in the areas she lived in before moving in with us. One was Ted, whom she knew from around a gas station near the bus stop. Before her cancer took a turn for the worst and she was hospitalized, she asked me to drive her there. I thought she wanted to see some familiar sights. Instead, she walked into the gas station, bought a sandwich, and handed it to Ted. Ted showed up at her funeral. I don't want to describe her last few weeks. She was in the hospital, weak and frail, just not like her. We visited her as much as we could. Our children hated seeing her in such a state. We all did, but we couldn't ignore her or leave her behind. I wonder if it was the right thing to do. During our last visit, I had a feeling it was the end. She was asleep when she finally passed. She had gladioli and poppies at her funeral. We all loved the meaning behind the gladioli flower, and she picked poppies because she loved calling our daughter her little poppy. We painted little poppies on her bedroom walls. She keeps asking us where her mother is and always sleeps with the build-up bear bunny Michelle made. Michelle never got to finish her painting, but I think that makes it more special. We're going to hang it up in our daughter's room when she gets older. The emails are finished and she'll see her first one on her 4th birthday. We have all the letters and recipes she was able to write down tucked away in a safe location. Like the painting, we'll give them to her as she grows older. We also applied our daughter for full Social Security survivors benefits and will be putting those into a savings account for future college or life use. That's all I can think of right now. According to Michelle's wishes, I'll be deleting this account in a few weeks. My husband and I promise we will raise our daughter to the very best of our ability and ensure she is as loved as Michelle loved her. Thank you all for your kind words and support. It's just a terrible situation for OP. It's unfortunate that from the very start, she was in a bad environment. There really isn't much else to say, except that I hope OP's daughter can live a good life. I'm glad to hear that she was visited by her friends and family in her last days. This is just a really heartbreaking story. User Fidel Costco said, I certainly don't think she failed at life. I am struck by the kindness of people, her co-workers and friends, especially the one who took in her daughter, and by the heartfelt advice people gave her. That bunny with a recording is so heartbreaking and moving. Damn pollen in the air. Rest well, Michelle. To this user, Peony said, she was dealt the worst cards for most of her life, and her last wishes were for a loving family for her daughter and to feed her homeless friend. She goddamn won at life. I hope wherever she is, she finally knows this. User Wow Bragger said, this is crushing, but I think we need this type of hurt sometimes. I know I need these reminders of the lives and struggles people face that can be so alien to my own. God bless all of you. You're all so special and deserve to be loved. This next post was made in the advice subreddit by a throwaway account. The post is titled, I have a chance to date my old high school crush, but I'm engaged. I had a crush on this girl Carla since middle school and into high school, but she never paid me any mind. I left for the military and met Sarah, who is a nurse and wants to become a nurse practitioner. Sarah was the typical type of girl I dated. I left the military to do contracting work and moved back to my home state. One day, while I was getting drinks at the bar, Carla was my bartender. She didn't recognize me, but when I told her my name, she couldn't believe it. She said she couldn't believe how much I had changed. I started becoming a regular and eventually exchanged contact information with her to catch up. Throughout this time, she told me she has a crush on me even though she knows I have a fiance. She said she likes how driven I am now I'm conflicted. She says that she will give me time to think about what I want to do. My fiance and I are doing great, but I feel like Sarah is normally the type of woman I always get. Carla is someone I never had the opportunity with or thought I would. I don't want to hurt Sarah, but I feel like I would regret this forever if I don't pursue it. Update. I broke her heart. I love Sarah so much and I stupidly called off the wedding to be with my old crush a few weeks ago. Throughout the couple of weeks, Carla used me as a piggy bank. That's all I fucking was to her. I spoiled her, paid for her hair, nails, etc. I gave her everything. I found out she used the money I Zelled her to buy a ticket for some guy to come see her. I'm sick to my stomach. I reached out to Sarah, but she feels betrayed and said she doesn't want to be sloppy seconds. But she's not. I love her and needed this to realize it. OP is garbage. Plain and simple, this guy is just wildly immature. You have a woman who actually loves you, but you decide to dump her just to be with a girl you had a crush on 7 to 9 years ago. I understand that some people take longer to develop emotionally, but surely you aren't this idiotic at 25. I hope OP's ex is able to find a proper partner. As for OP, he deserves some heartbreak. Not only is he an asshole for what he did, but also for the words he chose to use. He referred to his ex as the type of girl he always gets. The guy is just terrible. User Stacy said, perfection. Carla wasn't even smart enough to try to take him for a lot of money. This fool broke up with Queen Sarah for manicure and lash fees. I wish Sarah the best in finding a man on her level. User Fox Scribbles said, Sarah was lucky to have dodged that particular bullet before she actually married that guy. With that kind of attitude, he was always going to cheat on her. A deleted user said, the dude listed every red flag possible about Carly in the first post. It's like he literally traded a rare diamond for a piece of shiny rock. He went from a woman with ambition to a woman who settled for working at a bar. Then she knew he was in a relationship and still went after him. He truly messed around and found out that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. My parents tried to screw over my dying stepmother. It blew up all of our lives instead. My stepmother, Jane, is a wonderful woman. She and my father got married when I was 4, and she's been a rock in my life ever since. My mother was always my primary caregiver, but up until that point, her relationship with my father was acrimonious, and I basically never saw him. Jane was the reason they developed a stable co-parenting relationship. She encouraged everyone to have a good relationship with each other and was always there to support me and my mom when things got rough. Jane has always been a hard worker. When she met my dad, he was living out of a hotel, and my mother was doing everything in her power to keep me away from him because she was petty and angry that their relationship didn't work out. Meanwhile, Jane had a great job, a nice house, helped my dad get back on his feet, negotiated a visitation schedule with my mom, and made sure my dad sent us money every week because neither of them could afford an attorney to negotiate child support payments. Jane had no reason to do any of these things, but as I got older, she made it clear that she loved me as much as she loved my brothers, who were born a few years later. I even have my own room in her house because at the time, we lived with my grandparents or various boyfriends of my mom's, and Jane felt that I needed a more stable environment than that. She's the opposite of the evil stepmom. When I was 15, Jane won a big lawsuit against an airline company and was awarded upwards of $1 million. She used the money to build sizable trust funds for me and my brothers so that we would be taken care of later in life. Despite having a lot more money, she still wanted to live a fairly modest life. She paid off the house she has and has been living there ever since with my dad. Sure, she bought a new car and they went on a few nice vacations, but she didn't blow all her money on frivolous things, which I respected. About a year ago, things started getting really weird. Whenever I saw Jane, she seemed to look sicker and sicker, but no one would tell me or my brothers why, even though I know they knew. All we knew was that she was at the hospital a lot. Around the same time, my mom started coming around my dad much more and acting really strangely. Basically like she was trying to romance him. Whenever Jane was in the hospital, my mother would insist on spending the night at their house and playing mom to my brothers, which was so weird to me because she never liked them or Jane. She'd be the perfect little housewife, but my mom is not like that at all. It felt super fake. Worst of all, my dad started falling for it. I'm not stupid, I'm pretty sure they were sleeping together. I tried to shield my brothers from it, but they're not dumb either. I tried talking to my dad too, but he insisted it wasn't like that. Then a few weeks ago, my mom started talking about all the places she'd like to visit, how she wanted a new car, and how she was looking to invest. Which is weird because my mom has been a bartender her whole life and has lived paycheck to paycheck since before I was born. She was acting like she was about to get a lot of money, which started to make me really suspicious. Between Jane being sick and my mom acting all nouveau riche, I had a lot of questions. Finally, I decided to visit Jane in the hospital and ask her about my trust fund. I found out that if anything happened to her, my dad would inherit all the money, including full control of the trust for me and my brothers. She asked me why I was so interested in the trust fund, so I told her what was going on with my parents and how my mom has been acting with my dad. I didn't want to do it, but after everything she did for me, she deserved the truth. It really hurt me to break her heart like that, especially once I found out that she was basically in hospice at this point because of irreversible kidney failure. She's only got a few more months left. We both cried so much. Then 2 days ago, everything came to a head. My mom stormed in, furious, and started arguing with my dad. Apparently, Jane met with her lawyer and changed the trust so that my dad would get nothing and all of the trust would be controlled by my step-aunt. She demanded to know how Jane found out about their relationship, and I came out and told them that I told Jane everything. I told them that if they wanted to play stupid games, they would win stupid prizes, and that I wasn't going to let them screw Jane over after all the help she gave my family when she didn't have to. My mom slapped me, and my dad just looked defeated. Then my mom told my dad that she didn't really love him, that she was just pretending to so he would marry her and she could get all of the money. The worst part is that my brothers witnessed the whole thing, and now, on top of their mom dying, they have to deal with a cheating dad and his vindictive ex. Our whole family is in ruins, and I feel like it's my fault, even though I know it's not. Yesterday, I visited Jane again and told her about the fallout. She apologized and said that she had to dissolve my trust fund to make sure my mother didn't get a hold of the money, but that as her oldest, I will inherit the house or property after she is gone, and that's worth more than the other two trust funds combined. My father won't get anything because she's going to divorce him before she dies, and honestly, I'm happy for her. She made me promise to take care of my brothers and told me that once I turn 18 this summer, I can kick my dad out of the house if I want to. And I fully plan to do that. I haven't talked to my dad since and can't even look at my mom. I can't believe they would conspire to do this to Jane after all this time. Just proof that they deserve each other, and I'm embarrassed that they're my parents. Once I turn 18, I'm going to cut my dad out as much as I can and cut my mom out completely. I hope she rots. Meanwhile, I'm going to try and be at the hospital as much as I can until Jane passes away. Anyway, I just needed to vent. I'm really messed up about the whole thing and feel super betrayed, although I can't even begin to imagine how Jane feels. I'm going to be so messed up when she dies. I can't even think about that right now, but at least she's not surrounded by people who just want to bring her down. Thanks for reading. Edit. Some people are asking a lot of the same things, so I'll just clarify here. My brothers, my plan is to use some of the estate money to fight for guardianship of my twin brothers so that they can live in the house while I kick my dad out. If I can't get guardianship, then I will have to let my dad stay in the house. However, once I turn 18, I will technically be an adult, so even if my dad leaves, I'm still legally able to be responsible for them. The only thing I won't be able to do is stop him from taking them if he leaves, but they will be 18 in 6 years, so even if they do have to leave, they will always be able to come back whenever they want. In a perfect world, my dad would just leave and let my brothers stay with me, which I'm sure my bio mom would be very supportive of because right now she hates all of us, and I doubt that will change anytime soon. The trust, from what I understand, my brothers will inherit 1/3 each of the estate, and the remaining 1/3 will be used to keep the house running until they turn 18. After that, it will be up to me if I want to keep the house or sell it. At that point, my brothers will still have money left in the trust so they can branch out or do whatever they want. Otherwise, I will not sell the house and will just pass it on to them or keep it and maintain it myself, and they can stay with me as long as they need to. So I just spoke to Jane and she told me that the reason she dissolved the trust is because originally it was going to be split 3 ways between us kids, and my dad would inherit the house. She dissolved my third and switched it over to take care of the house maintenance and instead put the house in my name so my dad wouldn't get it. Plus, by doing that, at least financially, I would be getting a much bigger share. I just wouldn't be able to do anything with it until my brothers are 18, which I'm totally cool with. Sorry if I don't have a better answer, but I'm just trying to translate what she told me. My parents, the big fight happened on Sunday, and I haven't spoken to either of my parents since. I think they're both at my mom's place right now, but that's fine with us because we're all still mad at them, so they can stay gone for all we care. I know technically that's not legal to just leave us alone, but I've been taking care of my brothers for over a year, so I can handle a few days while he gets his shit together. Screw both of them. Hope that clears some stuff up. Some people are just way too scummy. Obviously, it sucks not to receive anything when you were expecting something in the first place. But to be honest, being spared the anger that OP would have felt if her parents had received the money probably would have been worse. OP definitely needs to get some help from a lawyer to make sure she's prepared in case her parents try anything else. User Away Link said, "You poor thing. Take the time you have left with her and make sure your brothers do too. Grief is a powerful thing to go through and you'll all need each other. I'd go no contact with your bio mom and put in place a boundary that she's not to step foot near your home. What she did was downright cruel. If your dad didn't realize his mistake in that moment and still pines for the woman who rhymes with witch, then he's proven his worth. I'll leave you with this. The brightest stars burn the fastest, so we must love them while we can. Thank you for your kind words. That's a beautiful quote. My brothers have a hard time visiting the hospital because they're young, and seeing their mom that sick is probably really traumatizing, especially now that they know she's not going to get better. As for my dad, I made it very clear to him that he's dead to me, and that I don't want anything to do with a man who has 1 foot out the door before his wife is even dead and tries to steal from her to add insult to injury. I know a lot of men do that, but I never imagined my dad would let my mom talk him into it. As for my mom, at this point, I think she knows better than to come near me because I threatened to call the cops the next time she tries. User Wenchy Witchy said, "Your dad is the ultimate sucker here. He was bamboozled by a heartless con and fell prey to her love bombing, and in the end, it's costing him all that he knows and those who should have been his priority. He's cheating on his loving, devoted wife with his ex while she is suffering in silence. Your birth mother seems insufferable. Karma will surely catch up to her something fierce. Clearly, Jane's parenting influence has rubbed off on you, so continue to fight for yourself and your kid brothers." User Negative Passion said, "I'm so sorry you and your brothers are going through this. Jane is so lucky to have raised such awesome kids. They might be your mother and father on paper, but Jane is your true parent, and you did absolutely the right thing for her and your brothers. At 17, you have more courage, compassion, and kindness than both of those pathetic excuses put together. I hope you, your brothers, and Jane have the best few months together possible. To this, OP said, "Thank you, that means a lot. I always felt like Jane was more motherly than my mom, who always told me that I was an accident and that she didn't really want kids." Meanwhile, Jane basically adopted a child that wasn't even hers, and I'll forever respect and love her for that. Update. Hi guys, it's me again. A lot of you asked for an update on my situation with Jane and my family, so I've come back with a few things that have happened since I initially posted. I will try to organize this in a way that addresses the major points from last time. Jane is still alive and doing surprisingly well considering the circumstances. She's always been a fighter, and although her disease has been progressing, she's keeping a positive attitude about everything that is going on. She says she's grateful that she was able to see everyone's true colors before she passes, so she could go into the next life knowing the truth. We have become unbelievably close in the past few months, and it's getting harder and harder to know that she's getting close to the end. She doesn't ever talk about it though, and I know it's because she doesn't want to hurt me. But we both know the situation, so we're just making the best of our time together. I'm also not being completely transparent about all of the drama at home, but to be honest, I don't think she needs to hear all of that. We did end up having that surprise celebration of life that I planned. A lot more people showed up than I expected. They all got an Airbnb near the hospital where Jane is, and we were able to take her out and spend some time at the lake near the facility. It was super low-key, which I know Jane preferred, and I was even able to get her old college friend to come after I found him on LinkedIn. We had food, there was music, and we played games. Overall, it was a really great time, except Jane started crying at the end, but she promised me it was just because she was grateful. My brothers are also doing okay. My aunt is currently paying for them to go to therapy, and they've become a lot more open about talking about the situation. They just turned 13, but a lot of the time it feels like I'm talking to actual adults. They've become really independent lately, and aside from me driving them places, I don't really have to do much for them anymore. Their grades aren't super great, but they're not failing, and considering the circumstances, it could be a lot worse. They still hang out with friends, and I'm keeping an eye out for any signs of depression or anything. The situation with my mom is as funny as it is embarrassing, to be honest. She spent a few weeks ignoring us and then tried to crawl back into my life, basically begging me to let her move in because her lease is about to expire and she has nowhere to go. That conversation went about as well as you'd expect. She ended up calling me an ungrateful jerk and said I couldn't just ignore her because she's my mom. I told her to get out of the house before I called the cops and to go back to my dad. After that, she tried coming by a few times, and when I wouldn't open the door, she would lose her mind and start yelling through the neighborhood. After 3 instances of this, I finally called the cops. But because I'm 17, they told me there was a possibility that I would have to go home with her since technically I'm a minor and need to be with the custodial parent. I told them no way because I was the only one watching my brothers at that moment. That led to a whole situation where after a few hours, my dad showed up and I was allowed to stay there because there was finally an adult present, and I'd basically lived there for over a year. After that, the cops firmly told my mom that if she keeps showing up and causing drama, they would arrest her for trespassing since technically it was Jane's house and not hers. She left and hasn't tried coming back since then. However, for a while she would call me constantly telling me I owed her all kinds of things. She's now blocked on everything, and anything she needs to say to me gets filtered through my dad. As for my dad, well, since he's basically required to be here for another 2 months until I turn 18, we've mostly just avoided each other. It's not too bad though, because I've been heavily relying on guilting him to get my way. For example, he was going to contest the divorce, but I threatened to kick him out when I turned 18 if he did that, so he just signed all the paperwork for a quickie divorce and is basically doing whatever Jane tells him to do. I don't openly disrespect him or anything, but I've made it clear that I have no intention of doing anything he says ever again, and he doesn't fight me on it. Most of the time, he's just in his room, and sometimes he'll go back to my mom's, but only for a day or two before they argue and she kicks him out again. I haven't decided whether or not I'll kick him out yet, and we haven't talked about it either, so I'm kind of playing it by ear. As for me, I'm handling everything as well as I can. I found a new job where I make a little more money, so I've been focusing on saving as much as I can and just being there for my brothers. Between working, school, and visiting Jane, I've been so busy that I haven't really had time to stop and think about everything, but I know it'll come. One of my friends has really stepped up and helped me manage everything, and I'm super grateful to him for being there for me and my brothers. Final update. Hello everyone, it's me again. I have received quite a few messages in the past months asking for an update, so I'm going to post my final update here and hope that it answers the questions everyone has been asking. I'm sorry it took so long to update, but a lot has been going on. As many of you may have already assumed, Jane passed away in early fall this year. It was very traumatic and sudden, but the silver lining is that she exceeded every doctor's expectation for her life. When she did go, she was surrounded by family, including me, my brothers, and my dad. She was on palliative care and felt no pain except for a brief moment right at the end, and we are all very grateful for that. Towards the end, Jane was physically pretty much done, but her mind was as sharp as ever. I took the advice of many of you here and recorded some voice notes for my brothers. She also wrote many letters for her friends, family, and even for me to open when I reached certain milestones. She gave me one to open right after she passed away, and while I won't share too many details, I can say with absolute certainty that she is and forever will be who I consider my mother without question. It was very emotional for everyone, and although it has been a few months, I'm still heartbroken about her no longer being with us. She was a kind, gentle woman, and in my heart, she is who I aspire to be. My brothers are obviously very hurt about our mom dying, but just like before, they are taking it surprisingly well. They are still going to therapy both together and separately, and we have a lot of conversations whenever they feel like talking. We've always been close, but I feel like we're even closer now. Even though I work, we hang out as often as we can, and I'm doing everything I can to be the support they need. They don't know it, but I definitely need them as much as they need me because they're the only ones I can really talk to about anything. Ironically, now that our family glue is gone, we're pulling together stronger than before. My dad and I have mended fences, so to speak. We went to a few therapy sessions together where he took full responsibility for his behavior. I've forgiven him as much as I can, especially since he eventually started doing everything he could to be there for Jane at the end. He's still living with us, and things are a little tense, but much better than before. He's my dad, and I love him. However, he was also broken by Jane's condition and wasn't able to cope in a healthy manner. Her passing really brought some light back into his eyes, so to speak, and now he's stepping up to be the man he was supposed to be. A lot of people commented saying too little too late, but again, he's my dad, and for my own mental health, I've chosen to forgive him. As far as I know, my bio mom pretty much vanished off the face of the earth when I turned 18. She tried a few times to convince me to let her live with us, but I wasn't having any of it. Even my dad told her he's officially done with her. After we all blocked her on everything, she stopped reaching out. She doesn't have any relatives who talk to her, so I don't have to worry about that. However, I did hear from people who follow her on Facebook that she has a new boyfriend that she's living with. I don't want to stalk her or anything, I really don't care. She hasn't come to me with any kind of apology, so honestly, she can get bent. It's a little hard for me to think that she'd just walk away the second I turned illegal just because she didn't get any of Jane's money. But oh well, true colors and all that. Guess 18 years was too long for her to pretend to care. I'm just so angry with her that I don't want anything to do with her anymore. Maybe that will change one day, but I'm not holding my breath. As for me, I'm doing pretty okay. I've decided to take a year before starting college to handle all of this, and I'm still at my same job, so I'm saving up money wherever I can. My friends have all been great supporters, and I'm so grateful for everyone, especially you Reddit folks, who have been checking in on me and making sure I'm okay. I'm taking things one day at a time. That's been working great for keeping me focused. My goal is to go to college next year and study journalism, but I'm playing it by ear. I can always go back to school later. Right now, my family needs me, and if that takes longer than a year, then so be it. Thank you everyone. This will be my last update, and I very much appreciate all the love and support you've shown our family. Jane was very grateful for all of you too. All I can say is hold your loved ones tight and be careful of anyone who seems too good to be true. Much love and blessings to you all. I'm happy to hear that OP and her brothers were actually able to use this moment of tragedy to strengthen their relationship with each other. Some people might want OP to stop hating her mother because it's exhausting to carry that burden, but I think it's fine. That woman is scum. I still don't really like the father either. This next post was made by a user named Main Copy about a week ago. The post is titled, "How do I repair my relationship with my boyfriend and his family after what I suggested to his sister?" So I've been in a relationship with my boyfriend, who we'll call G, for about 2 years. He has 3 younger siblings, M, A, and T. All of them are still in college and live at home with their mom and dad, while my boyfriend and I rent an apartment. This summer, they will be celebrating their 30th wedding anniversary in France, where they had their wedding. They plan on getting first-class tickets, a high-end hotel, etc. One night, G and I were supposed to have dinner with his family. While we were at their house, T mentioned how excited she was for this summer and all the things they plan to do in France. Since this is an anniversary trip for her parents, I suggested to T that she could do her parents a solid and maybe stay back home to give them some time away from their kids this summer. Or she could pay her own way so her parents could save money. T asked me why she would give up a trip to France, and I told her it would be a nice gesture for her parents' anniversary. I kept trying to explain how nice it would be and how her parents would probably thank her for giving them space. At some point, M interrupted us and told me to stop meddling in family affairs, that I was overstepping, and to either apologize for pressuring T or leave the house. I told him I didn't mean to upset anyone, but when their dad came into the room and asked what was wrong, they told him everything. He then asked me to leave his house and said I probably shouldn't come back anytime soon because I was overstepping, and he found it rude that I was making up a problem and pressuring T to solve it. G and I went back to our apartment and we haven't been speaking since. Where do I go from here? Edit, the others are invited, but they're older, so I assume they can just go do their own thing. I'm not obsessed with their financial situation. I just think it's important for T to start making money on her own so she can value it more. She's used to getting her hair, nails, and sometimes makeup done for her, not to mention how much she spends on hair products and sanitary items. It'll hit her hard how much these things cost when she's older, so why not start learning that now? User Plum Plum said, "Your perspective isn't the only true perspective in the world. It's not up to you to decide how others should celebrate and who they should celebrate with. It's not okay to keep pushing someone because you feel self-righteous. Your boyfriend's parents are 55-year-old adults who are perfectly capable of making their own choices. You don't need to help them just because you think they aren't able to book a vacation for 2. His sister is definitely not doing anything wrong by going on a vacation her parents booked for her. You shouldn't project your ideas onto her. Their children are the result of their happy marriage. Maybe they enjoy having their kids around and want to share this special moment with them. All of the children are adults, so the parents can go to dinner or do couple activities whenever they want. You should apologize for overstepping and give them some space. You also need to reflect on your behavior because apparently you pushed hard enough for them to want you to leave." User Original Thanks said YTA. Your opinion about how their parents would appreciate being alone was not for you to decide, nor was it your place to verbalize it. You aren't a part of the family, so keep your nose, advice, and opinions to yourself. You should apologize, but it might be a while before you're forgiven. User OK Homework said, "I don't think you can really fix this. You did overstep. Instead of apologizing and taking responsibility, you made an excuse, which doesn't matter after you had been told to stop several times. That's not accountability. You were asked not to come back for a while. It's December, which means you're out of any holiday plans. Even if your boyfriend stays with you, seeing you will always be awkward for the family, especially as they're preparing for the trip and afterward. I'm not sure why you felt it was your place to keep insisting on changing somebody else's plans. Hopefully, you've learned to keep quiet in the future. You should apologize for this either way, but stick to admitting it was a mistake and promising not to repeat it in the future. Leave your intentions out of it." Update. Last night, my boyfriend G and I had a long and serious talk about my comments at dinner, along with some of my past remarks. He told me that while in my family, refusing a free trip when invited may be seen as noble. In his family, refusing a free trip is seen as stupid. In my family, if someone offers to pay for you, you should always decline no matter what. My parents made me work throughout high school and always told me I'd have to get a scholarship to help pay for college because they weren't going to do it. It is also customary in my family not to expect help with finances, no matter how tough things may get, to only eat one serving at dinner gatherings, to always pay your own way, and to voice our opinions no matter what they are. He then discussed the trip to France. His mother has extended family who live there, so this will not be the first or last time they go. It will be the first time they explore the area together. Even if T wasn't old enough to go off on her own or didn't know her way around or the language, she'd be just fine. And if his mom and dad wanted alone time, she'd be okay on her own, even if they didn't have family there. When G and I first started dating and talked about our family histories, he told me how his maternal great-great-grandparents moved to America from France. I was under the impression that everyone from his mother's extended family moved, not just the great-great-grandparents and their children. Apparently, his mother thought my behavior was because I didn't feel welcome by them and that the dinner was meant to invite me on the France trip as a sort of peace offering. However, after his father caught me trying to sway tea, he had enough. He decided he couldn't take it anymore. No matter what his wife says, he will not tolerate me being around the rest of the family or in their home any longer. This came as a shock to the family since his dad doesn't speak much and is usually calm and composed. My boyfriend also showed me photos from his parents' wedding. It looked like one of the most fairy tale-like weddings I'd ever seen. It was held at Chateau Chalin, and he explained how they plan on renting the space again and flying all of their extended family out to celebrate with them because they want to include everybody and will take time for themselves later on in the summer. I also teared up listening to how his parents met. After graduating high school, his mother spent the summer in France with her family while his dad was visiting along with his older brother. His dad had struggled with cancer nearly his entire life up to that point, and it was supposed to be his last trip before he let himself go because he was tired of everything. One morning while eating alone at a cafe, he recognized her as the most beautiful girl he'd ever seen, someone who spent her time helping out her family with their restaurant, running it like it was the Navy, someone who wasn't afraid to call customers out when they were being unreasonable or downright rude, and someone who knew exactly what she wanted and how to get it, the complete opposite of him. They spent the day together, which inspired his father to continue his cancer treatment, accomplish his goals, and start taking life more seriously so he could be by her side for as long as she'd have him. His parents always told him and his siblings that the only thing in life they value more than each other is their children, and they want to ensure that if life ever gets hard for them, they have something to fall back on. He told me he'd be moving back in with his parents until he can find a new apartment. He also revoked my invitation to their family Christmas trip to Aspen, which we were supposed to leave for tonight. I feel like I'm in a Darman video right now. On another note, my friends saw my initial post and gave me an intervention. I will be attending therapy for the foreseeable future. I may update when I unpack what's wrong with me. User Sherry11 said, if his mother was inviting you to France as a type of peace offering, it sounds like you've been insufferably pushing your views and beliefs down their throats constantly. I'm glad his dad put his foot down and that you're getting help. Please be sure to tell your therapist the truth and take accountability. Otherwise, it's a waste. User Permission West said, your parents have shaped you to see the world as a dog-eat-dog world. To this user ping, My Cray said, that whole idea that you're always supposed to decline a nice offer is some manipulative, sabotaging bullshit. User Last Campaign said, I feel a bit of sympathy for you, but I hope you take the opportunity to engage in some self-reflection in therapy. Once you realize that what you were saying wasn't being well received at the table, you should have reflected on why that might be instead of doubling down. Take some time to work on yourself before entering another relationship. You'll be better for it. Good luck.